Manchester United, their deal for Ugarte is all but over the line. David, how good a signing do you think this is for Man United, one of your previous targets of Chelsea?
I think for what you need, he's really good. Don't expect him to come in and, split lines and whatever. He is a destroyer. I am going to win this ball, and then I'm going to give it off to somebody else to do all the creative stuff. But I think he's a great player. I don't really know much more to say. I think he's really good. And the fact it's a loan with an obligation, you can kind of see what he's like for a year and, judge it that way. So, yeah, it's really good.
Obligation or option?
Oh, it's an obligation to buy. So we have to buy him at the end of that point. But, yeah.
You don't. It saves you money this way, though.
Too,
you don't have to spend as much.
I'm not really too, I want to say concerned about the player. I think what he does he does what he says on the tin. He's a destroyer. He's an out-and-out destroyer. I think if that's what Ten Hag wants and he's looking for him to play, I think he's going to be playing next to Mainu, who has the ability to break the passing lanes and everything like that. Then it would work out, but he's not going to rip up trees. He's not going to be spraying balls left, right, and center. I don't think he's going to be distributing that well. He's just there just to literally break up play, be a destroyer, and pass the ball off to better players who can play football. So I think a couple of United fans will be in for a little bit of a shock in the sense of they're looking for a DM like that, but he's not like that. But if that's what you guys need and want,
I don't think any Man United fan thinks that we've signed Paul Scholes. I don't think anyone thinks we've signed Paul Scholes. I think everybody is very, very, very aware that we have signed.
I think they want Carrick though, not Scholes, but they want Carrick.
But where are you here? What United fans have you seen say that genuinely? Because I haven't.
They want someone that's decent on the ball who can actually play out.
But he is decent. He is decent on the ball. And I'll give you an example, right? These are some of his statistics compared to Declan Rice, who is good on the ball. Long passes completed per game and long passing accuracy better. Okay. This guy's pass completion is better in areas. He's dual success. This is just some of the stats that are out there. His short passing, I also believe, is marginally better than Declan Rice is as well. That's not a dig at Declan Rice. I think with Ugarte, it's overplayed how bad he is on the ball. I'm not saying, again, he's Paul Scholes or he's Pirlo or he's Iniesta or Xavi. I'm not saying he's of that level, but people are talking about him like he's passing the ball like Scott McTominay. Like he's a level above that as a technical football player, if that makes sense. So
he's okay to good, in my opinion, I think. And if that's what you guys are looking for and what you need, then cool. That's what you guys need, then that's great. I think it's a good signing, I think, especially with the price. But it's like some United fans that are looking, everyone wants a Rodri. And I think if any United fan that hasn't watched Ugarte, I think they just need to be a little bit mindful about the fact that he's nothing like a distributor, like a Carrick.
I don't know why we always go straight and look for negatives. Man United needed more improvements in quality in their team, and they've added that. Let's not act like every single player has to have every single piece to the puzzle. There's going to be players who have deficiencies, but what he's good at, he's really good at. He's really good defensively. He's really good winning the ball high up the pitch aggressively. And they have somebody who's just as good as Casemiro when Casemiro either is injured or something else happens. And that could be a good partner for Kobbie Mainoo going forward. We know Bruno Fernandes is going to be in the midfield no matter what. You know they're going to have that attacking player there. You know Kobbie Mainoo is going to be there as he's basically taking that spot and is undroppable. So now you have another piece to the puzzle, and they have more quality. They went from having Scott McTominay and Fred to now having Casemiro and Ugarte. That's a massive improvement defensively. It might not be guys who are going to go run into the box and score you a bunch of goals, but it is an improvement for Man United. And as they add their quality, they're going to need to eventually get players that are more complete. But for those kind of players, you're going to pay way more money, and you're not going to get them on loan deals where you pay a year later. So for what they've paid and what they got, I think they got a good situation. There's not too many negatives.
Yeah, I don't think there is either, to be honest. I actually think Ugarte is a decent player. I feel like, once again, like I said earlier, we live in the world where now it's not, we don't wait and see what a player can do at a club. It's always either you got to be super positive or super negative. If you're in the middle and you're trying to be realistic, people seem to think you're just stupid or something. It's weird. But like, I think when I remember seeing him play against us for Sporting, and he looked quality, and I was like, who's this guy, man? He's only
scored that
23 years
halfway
old. Yeah, he's only 23 years old still, so he's still young. Like, definitely for his position as well. I'm not gonna lie, 23 years old for his position is a young player. It's a player that gets better with experience and stuff. Now he can find his way in Man United under a good system, hopefully this season, and he can thrive. And I think he'll be all right. I think he's what they need. I think he complements Mainu perfectly. And yeah, like for me, it's kind of annoying because I think he's going to be a bit of a player that right now goes under the radar. It's like, oh, it's just Ugarte, and I reckon he'll end up being one of Man United's best signings. I'm going to say it from now. I think he will be up there for Man United's best signing of the season.
We signed a really good.
He might crash out.
Sorry.
He might he's just a player who, like, he might get a red card because he kicks someone.
Yeah,
he's a bit Romero-y.
No, I get that, but I'm not against it. Like, I grew up, one of my first heroes who I love was Cantona, who was susceptible to throwing balls at refs, kicking racist fans and kicking players on the pitch. We've had Wayne Rooney that in his younger days was a proper hothead. Sometimes, yaps. You just need these players in your team sometimes. If you take that dog away from them, then it leaves you in trouble. But we signed a really good DM last year in Amrabat. We just had an awful system that exposed our DM every single time. And we also did it a little bit in our first game of the season where we put too many players forward and we exposed the middle. This counteracts that a little bit because he's got more legs and he's more physical and he has more athleticism than Casemiro at 30 plus years old and Amrabat does. And we are working hard at narrowing the gaps in our midfield so he doesn't have to cover as much ground. So I see the real possibility here of him being a resounding success. And we saw that with Amrabat last year, last 4 or 5 games of the season, when we covered those holes in the midfield, he was brilliant. He was really good against Arsenal when they narrowly beat us. And he was brilliant in our final 3 games of the season, which we won. And then he was brilliant in the FA Cup final, which we won. And all we're really doing, and I like that we've done this, is we're saying Amrabat was good, but we need a better version of that player to try and go up a level. And I think that's what all of our signings have done so far this summer. Every single player has raised the technical level and the overall ability of our squad. And that's what I like about the signings that we've made, is they've been floor raisers. None of them are these world-class, potentially Euro in the future, but none of them are these world-class, best-in-class superstars. But I don't think we need them at this particular moment. It's hard to integrate those players when your club isn't perfect, because they want players like that want to come into a brilliant situation and scenario. They don't want to have to come in and try and sort of build you from the. Imagine you spent 4 or 5 years at a business building it from the ground up, and then a big organization comes to you and wants to employ you. You kind of want to go somewhere next where you're walking in. They've already got a brilliant client list. They've already got wonderful offices. You may not want to go somewhere and be back in that same position of having to grind from the bottom up again. It's hard to remotivate yourself sometimes when you've done that before. And I think sometimes we've brought the wrong players at the wrong time to our club. So, yeah, really, really happy with what we've done so far. I want one more midfielder, if I'm being honest. I want one more to come in, if we can, someone who's technically better on the ball. But, yeah, I'm really excited about how we're going to perform this year, the progression that we'll make, and hopefully closing that gap on some of the top teams. So, yeah.
You know what the funny thing is, Terry? This is the first time in the time that I've been doing YouTube where I've ever seen people say, damn, Man United doing good business, and they don't have anything negative to say, so they just try to laugh about it or make banter about silly things. But really and truly,
I mean,
no one can you can't really fault their window. Their window has not been they're not signing superstars, but they're not getting anything crazy done.
That's the way you should do it.
There was the season where they signed Varane and Ronaldo and players.
Even then, people were saying Varane is going to you for a paycheck. Casemiro is going to you for a paycheck. Yeah. They're even then. Now, none of these players that are going to Man United, you can say, are going for a paycheck. They're all good signings.
That's the way you're supposed to do it, though. You're not supposed to, in my opinion.
No, I'm saying it as a compliment. Don't take it as a
no. I know. I agree. I think that's the way you should do it. Get your foundations right. And then when you've got everything settled, then bring in the big stars. I've said this since the hierarchy come in. United will have a good season, and I do think they will get top 4. And then when they get the top 4 and that extra money comes in, then next year you'll see a lot bigger and better signings come in. But they're settled now, and it's all about getting the fans, the players, and everyone singing from the same hymn sheet in the first season. Like Fulham 1-0. Okay, it's not the best scoreline, but it's a win. It's a clean sheet, and it was much better performance than we saw. I think that performance, obviously Fulham were on top of some of the game as well, but parts of that game was better football than we saw a lot of last year. Like last year, watching Man United at times, I mean, we can all agree. Terry, you must have been pulling your hair out. But the United they've got now, there's things that are slowly in place, in my opinion.
No, listen, I agree. And there's a long way for us to go. You know, we're still overall in a mess. We're still nowhere near where we want to be. But I think it's been a good start. And it's now about putting that into practice and starting to see the team improve. And fingers crossed on Saturday, we see De Ligt start the game, which is what I'm hopeful for. You know, having De Ligt, Delo and Matuidi, De Ligt and Lissandro, plus their goalkeeper, there should be absolutely zero excuse to not be playing out well from the back. Absolutely none. So it's all these little things, and we're not going to be perfect. We're still going to make mistakes because the squad isn't where anybody expects it to be. We still want it to be better and better and better over the next couple of years. But that's what I'm excited about. And that's it's a nice feeling to have as a United fan. For years, I've not felt that excited about games, about a progression. And even when I have got a little bit giddy and thought, oh, this is a good deal. One thing that the people that have worked with me long enough know, I've always said, if we don't change the way we run the club, ultimately we end up in the mud again, because you can't be rudderless. You know, you can get away with being rudderless for a certain period of time, but at some point you're capsizing every single time. It's as simple as that. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with it. We're going to come back.